one more time. One more time. I am going to be posting this to my YouTube channel. So for those of you who are like, what is she doing? This is the third try to bring Corey Hirsch on to talk on Facebook. And this is always sketchy because you never know what you're going to get. And so we've gotten feedback and we're hoping this time. So I'm adding. If we get feedback, I think we'll try on Corey's page.
Okay, is that better?
Please work. Yes.
All right. We got
it. I've introduced you in the last 2 videos. That's enough. You introduce yourself now.
That is enough. I just got to get set up here so I'm in the perfect light.
Well,
there we go.
I'll just say for myself, Corey is one of my favorite people. I just adore him. We met well over a year ago, or well over a year ago, a couple years ago. And Corey seriously saw my book on pure OCD, randomly messaged me and was like, "We're gonna be friends." And then we became friends.
I told you, I said, we're going to be friends. And you were kind of like standoffish a little bit. Like, who is this guy? And I'm like, yeah.
Out.
Well, I don't blame you. Look at me, right?
I'm just kidding.
But, okay. So, yeah. So we ended up, because you wrote your book and you put your book out. And Clint Malarchuk was a mutual friend of yours.
Yes.
So that's how we ended up, connecting, right? I mean, so worked out awesome. Yeah.
And we both,
really
and then, Corey is definitely the inspiration behind the banana.
Yeah. We'll just leave that joke to us.
With the hat on it. Did you see the hat?
Oh my God.
So tell everybody who you are.
Okay. So I'm Corey Hirsch. I'm an ex-professional athlete, hockey player, Olympian. And during the course of my career, I struggled with mental illness and I tried to hide it for a long time until finally I really can't take it anymore. And I ended up getting diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. So it's been a long time. I came out with my story in the Players Tribune. And to this day, it's still the most clicked on article the Players Tribune has had, which is pretty impressive because it's like guys like Derek Jeter and all the basketball guys and like some really famous athletes. And then there's little old me that's just like, hey, I'm over here. But they did a really nice job. It really struck a chord in the mental health world. Really brought awareness that this is real. This is a real issue. And since then, I've become a mental health advocate. I launched my website yesterday, CoreyHirsch.com. Please go take a look at it. There'll be a lot of information. Oh, they did. Blue Rain Designs did it for me, and he did an amazing job. So I'm pretty excited. And the goal is just to get the word out and help as many people as you can, because you don't have to suffer, right? I mean, it's mental illness is no different than physical illness, but we treat it so much differently. And and I'll just expand on this a little bit, Chrissie, because this is the view that I'm trying to get out there is that, okay, so when you have a knee problem, right, what do? You go to the doctor, you get diagnosed, right? You get surgery on it, or you go to physical therapy and you get it fixed, and you do like 4 to 6 weeks of physical therapy, or, surgery might be longer, might be 6 months, might be a year. Okay, well, what do you do with mental health? You go to the doctor, you go to the therapist, you get diagnosed, right? You do your therapy for 4 to 6 weeks, might be 6 months, might be a year, might be longer. Maybe you need medication for a knee injury. Maybe you need medication, right? It's no different, but because it's our brain and we can't see, we treat it like it's different and like it's something you're scared of. When in actual, the protocol is exactly the same for a knee injury as it is for something that's going on in your brain that's not right. So that's kind of the message I'm getting out. We don't need to treat it any differently.
Right. And I think, along with that, so if you don't know, and if you follow my stuff or you follow Corey's and you don't know me, Corey and I both live with the same type of disorder and kind of the same themes. And I know we don't like to break them up in themes, but at the same time, sometimes it's easy to relate to someone who's dealing with like health or sexual, violent, intrusive thoughts, things that are really feeling taboo, which can keep people from going to the doctor. Now, I want to share a story. When Corey and I met probably like 2 or 3 months before the Players Tribune article came out, and this was right when I was launching my business. You remember this?
Oh yeah.
And I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to be doing peer support. I don't know how it's going to look at all this. And Corey is coming out with this huge article. And of course, I'm all like, this is going to be great. And Corey's like, it's going to be great. But oh, he did not know how great it was going to be. And I
I
remember
was
being on
terrified.
the phone with you. I can
Oh
remember
yeah.
these mornings with like nostalgia because it was just, first of all, it was just awesome to hear that so many people were touched. But Corey would like call me in the morning and be like, Chrissy, I'm getting hundreds of emails. Like I had no
It
idea.
was crazy.
And I'm like, you're like, what do I do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, send some to me. Send some here. We've got to connect with all these people. And then I still get people who have read your article.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
thank you. Yeah.
to me, it was a testament of how many people are out there that all they needed was to read an article in the Players Tribune. You know, like the
Well,
most
yeah.
random place to find out I have OCD and it's treatable and I'm not alone and I don't have to be scared of these thoughts. It was
No, and absolutely.
brilliant. It was brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've never been called brilliant before, but thank you.
Well, the
Oh,
article was, not
the
you.
article was. I was. Yes, that's better. No, you know what I learned? I thought, you know what? So when I was going through this, I thought I was the only one. Like I thought, oh my God, I'm crazy. I'm the only one in the world with this. What I've learned is I'm not talking hundreds of people. I'm not talking thousands of people. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of people that are struggling. And, you know, it is difficult. And it's treatable though. It's very treatable. And that's what people don't understand is that you just need to go and get some help. You need to find the right therapist. You need to go in the right direction because it took me probably 6 therapists before I found somebody that could help me. So you just need to keep going until you find somebody that can help you, right? And since I found the right therapist, like that's when my life changed. And that was 10, 12 years ago. And I haven't really had an issue since. I had an issue a couple months ago again. I went and it was like, took me a couple of times. I'm good again, right? I mean, I'm good. And it's very treatable and you can get healthy again.
Right. So with that said, there are also times where Corey just mentioned, and I always love to talk about lapses, relapses. We hate them, but we should love them. And here's why. Lapses teach us so much about why the illness is showing up. What are the things surrounding it? What can we do? How quickly can we get back on our feet? And so when they happen, we feel like a big fat failure. We're like, oh my gosh, this is never going to go away. And what if it's never good again? And this is awful. And I wish things were back the way they were, blah, yada, yada, yada. But you know what?
Yeah.
Everybody suffers with lapses. Everybody still has symptoms. Everybody still has relapse. And if people say that they don't, they're lying because it does not go away, but management can happen every single day. So with that, Corey and I really wanted to talk today about some of the things that may trigger OCD or any sort of illness in regards to being in holidays or being on things where, for me, Corey, it was for years and years, it was always this: holidays were the reminder that I was still sick. So whenever a holiday would come around, everybody is all, oh, yay, the holidays. And I would be like, oh my gosh, it's one more year that I still have symptoms. This is just another reminder of how awful I am. So we wanted to talk about that today. And I know that there are all kinds of blogs out there on how to, mental health and holidays or whatever, but let's keep it real.
Yeah. Well, it's I mean, with the holidays and that, there are quite a few triggers. When you start to be able to manage it though, and you, like I said, when you get the right therapist, each time then it gets less and less, right? Each time you can get back into getting your life going, and you know what to do when when you do start to struggle a little bit, you know what to do. You need to go back to your therapist or get back on your medication or go get some treatment or start working on your stuff again. And then you can get going again and get back into your life. It doesn't have to consume you, but
and you get stronger and stronger every time you do that.
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
It's amazing.
Absolutely. And I can go I can go a long time without having any, but then, every once in a while one will pop up and I'll be like, hey, Chrissy, what do you think of this? And and then you don't give me any reassurance or any information at all, and then I hate you for it because I just want reassurance.
You think this is OCD?
But
I don't know. Maybe it is.
I
Maybe it's
don't
not.
know.
I
Yeah,
don't
when you
know.
know, yeah, man, it's right, and I'll do the same to you. Don't worry.
Oh, and you have. This is why people love and hate me. I, and if my friend who said this before to me has called me the reassurance gatekeeper, it is
Oh my
because
God.
as hard as it is, it's just going to contribute to the cycle to give somebody reassurance. So
Yeah.
I don't give you reassurance because I love you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
So advice for people when they're going into the holidays. I'll give a little bit of a suggestion, which is bring OCD with you because it's coming anyway. Are you flying?
Yeah.
Pack it in your suitcase. Are you driving? Put it in the trunk. Are you just going across town? Pour a glass of wine when everybody else is going to be there because OCD is going to show up. And if it showed up before and you're worried it might show up because it showed up before, there is your first clue right there. Okay, then it showed up before, so it's going to show up again. And you know what? That's okay because, and I say this often, education about OCD, there is a limit.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get to the point where if you have any more education and you're using it as a compulsion, it's too much and it's harmful. Education and knowledge about your patterns for OCD, awesome. If OCD
Yeah.
showed up last year at Christmas, chances are it's going to show up this year at Christmas. Be ready for it. Get ahead of it. Anticipate it. Accept it when it does. And look for it to show up again later during the day and even the next day or even when you get home later. Because if you can get ahead of OCD, you are managing it versus it managing you.
Yeah. And when you welcome it instead of trying to push it away or fearing it, right? I mean, it's amazing how much when you accept it and it's there, and most of us spend most of our days trying to figure it out, and then you're in your own head and you're trying to figure it out, and you never figure it out. There's no answer with OCD. You will never ever find an answer, and when you do, you find it for a good 20 minutes, and then it just comes back again in another direction, right? So the only thing you can do is accept the uncertainty and accept it. Welcome the thoughts, and that maybe the term that Chrissie hates that I use is maybe maybe it is, maybe it isn't, maybe it's going to happen, maybe it's not, and that's just the way it is. And then afterwards,
We all
it's
hate
like
that.
screw it. It's like screw it. I don't care. I don't care. It's almost getting to the point of not caring about the thoughts anymore. We put too much care into a thought that is garbage that means nothing, right? It's not a voice. It's not like a voice in someone's head. It's like some people would like. It's a thought, and we all get millions upon millions upon millions of them every day. But some with OCD, we want to figure it out. We want to figure it out because then I'll feel better, right? Maybe not is the best way that I've learned how to manage things, and it's just like, it's people with OCD. The issue with people with OCD, Chrissy, and you know this as well as I do, is that we're too kind. We care too much. We love too much. And we don't want to hurt anybody. And that's where OCD attacks us, right? It's you almost wish that you didn't care as much, right? I mean, but I don't. I love who I am. I want to help people. I want to be as kind as I can. I want to be able to. But that's where my OCD tries to hit me. Is that I'm gonna do something that's wrong to somebody else, and I don't want to hurt anybody. That's my thing. However, that with my OCD was saying that I just have to learn to accept that it's just a thought, and that's nothing more. It means nothing. It's not an action. It's just a thought that I have no control over whether it pops up or not. But when it does, I don't have to listen to it. I can choose to listen to it or not listen to it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that what happens is, and I relate completely to the just don't care about the thoughts. And that's the way that I try to manage it. I just don't fight.
Yeah.
I don't fight back. And
No,
sometimes I do. Sometimes I fight
we
back.
all do.
And sometimes I'm like, nah, this isn't OCD this time. I can win. And then I end up losing.
Yeah.
But I think the scary part is is that people start to think to themselves, if I don't care about the thoughts, that's a reflection of the kind of person I am. And I
It's
must be
not.
bad. I must be
Yeah.
a bad person for having these thoughts. I mean, how many times have we heard that, Corey, over and over, not only to ourselves,
Oh,
but other
me
people
too.
saying, I am a bad person for having these thoughts. If that's the case, then every human running around on planet Earth is bad.
Is a horrible,
Everybody
right?
has awful thoughts. And Sean David tells me about his thoughts out loud now when he has intrusive thoughts, just to probably normalize what I'm going through. But I'm like, wow, if he had OCD, he'd be in trouble.
Yeah, right. And you're so right. It's that's yeah. You know, you don't want the thought because it's going to make you a. It may, if it that must be you. You almost believe it because why would your brain lie to you? Why would your brain? But guess what? It
Yes.
does. It
Yes.
does. Your brain freaking lies to you.
Why
My brain
would your
lies to me.
brain say this
Yeah,
if it wasn't true?
my brain lies to me a million times a day, and it's you know, and my brain lies to me and tells me I'm going to walk across the street and get hit by a car, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? If I wait for the crosswalk signal, guess what? Probably not going to get hit by the car. And my OCD
You
was
still
wrong, and it just lied to me, right? I mean, it's like it's so.
maybe you will,
Once you
maybe you
learn
won't.
that, yeah, right. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But I'm going to cross the street at the crosswalk, right? I mean, it's just it's what it is. And it's yeah, it's learning to you know, not pay attention to the garbage that's going on in your head, because that's what it is. It is garbage, and that's the biggest thing that I learned. Do I still struggle with it? Sometimes, but not nearly as much. I can. It used to. Remember when Chrissy, when you know when it's at its worst, it's screaming at you. Like I mean, it's like somebody's in the site. It was in my somebody was in
Debilitating.
my ear yelling at me, right, over and over and over again. Now it's like a little, you know, it's like a gnat, and it's just a
Mm-hmm.
pest, and I just kind of bat it away, right? And then I'm good. But once you can recognize it, it creeps up in you in a lot of different ways. Once you can recognize it, you go get your help, and you get on with your life, and you can do so much better.
And so you mentioned earlier, which I think is important to mention again, and especially going into the holidays, is the isolation it causes. And
Yeah.
especially, and not that I'm comparing things, but especially when it has to do with when it's all in your head and you're dealing with themes that are really hard for people to understand, like, you know, HOCD. Am I going to turn gay? Am I going to turn into a pedophile? Am I going to turn violent? And am I sinning against God? Am I this or that? All of these blasphemous, sexual, intrusive thoughts. All of the, am I
Oh
going to
yeah.
get schizophrenia? Am I going to, snap and kill myself? All of these things, they're so isolating and they're so scary to talk about. So let's talk about this. When you're isolated and you don't have anybody to talk to, and then you go home for holidays, and oftentimes we have this idea of what it should be like, because OCD people, we're very black and white thinkers, and we think it should be this, and if it's not, that means something bad is wrong. I could go on and on. But oftentimes we don't have people that just get it. They don't understand, and people don't really want to hear about it, and then maybe people don't understand it, and that can further stigmatize us. Going into a setting where you are suffering, just like you said, when it's screaming at you and you have this face on like, can you pass some more mashed potatoes, please? And
Right.
then you're afraid you're going to pick up the knife and kill somebody, and so it's kind of this, I feel so alone when I'm trying to act like everything is okay. What do we do, Corey? What do we do when we're in that situation?
Maybe you will. Maybe you won't.
I don't mean that, Cole. I mean, like, how to feel less isolated.
Well, you have to engage, right? I mean, you have to stay in the conversation. One of the hardest things with OCD is that, you know, you can go off into your own trying to figure it out world. And I've done that.
Yeah,
And you have to force yourself to engage and stay in the conversation.
100%.
And I have to bring my head back around to the conversation and focus on the people that I'm with, right? But if you're going to go sit by yourself, you know, it's probably one of the worst things you can do, is just go sit by yourself and try and figure it out, because you don't figure it out. You never do. It's OCD. So if you get into that, I mean, that's when you need to possibly go back to your therapist if it gets bad enough, or, you know, you can talk about it or discuss it, but you get back to your homework, you do your ERP, you do your therapy. Like I said, when I talk about mental health, I talk the same as physical health. Okay, well, I've had 3 shoulder surgeries. Guess what? When my shoulder starts getting sore again, which it does, I go, I got to do rehab, I got to do the physical therapy, I got to do my bands, I got to do all that stuff. It's no different with mental health. You know, it's like it comes around again. Well, what do you got to do? You got to go do your therapy, you got to go do your rehab, and it will get better again. I mean, that's the thing is that it will get better again, even if you have a relapse. And it's Christmas time, like you said, Chrissy, and we have, you know, all these triggers around us, but you know, it's also a good time to practice. So I welcome my OCD because it's a time for me to practice on it.
Yes, exactly. And I also, you know, I encourage people. I meet with people, especially leading up to the holidays, and they're scared. What if OCD
Yeah.
shows up on the holidays? And I'm like,
Well, let it.
it's going to, like, bring it,
Yeah.
let it be there. But not only
All
that,
right.
you can do things to plan for it to happen. And that does not mean that you're, you know, that it's this, oh, well, if I plan for it to happen, then it's going to happen. No, just assume it's going to happen, because
It's going to happen anyways.
exactly. So you might
Yeah.
as well plan. A couple things that I always suggest is find somebody you can talk to, whether that is someone in your family or not. If it's someone over text, you can type SOS. Whenever you have a minute, can we chat or can we text back and forth? Not to get reassurance, but just to be like, hey, struggling a little bit. Is there a phrase you can tell me that can just kind of get me back into the game and pull me out of my head? Can you find a place, especially if you're traveling and you're out of your element, can you find a place in the house you're staying at, in the hotel you're staying at, that's kind of a safe space? I need to get there and just chill for about 20 minutes at 4 o'clock every day. But, and I'm a regroup. I'm gonna put on my game plan. I'm gonna do ERP. Or, hey, can I, bring my sneakers and go for a walk every day? Can I go for a jog? Is there a gym nearby I can go? If your family has a problem with it, who cares? It's your mental health, not theirs. Like, it doesn't matter if the holidays are here. You still have to take care of yourself. And so do that and do the things that you would normally do at home there. You are not selfish, because mental health does not stop for the Christmas holidays. You've got to still maintain it, and especially because you're out of your routine.
Yeah, and self-care. We just got a text. Self-care is very important, right? I mean, be kind to yourself. That's the other side of it too. Is I talk about being kind to yourself. Not beating yourself up for having these thoughts. They're just thoughts. They're garbage. They're just thoughts. And not beating yourself up for them, right? And disliking yourself and love yourself, forgive yourself, all those things that we talk about. And that was one of the hardest things I had to learn how to do, was forgive myself and love myself. And, for having these thoughts, right? Like, I mean, the most important person you can take care of is you. Because you can't take care of anyone else unless you can take care of yourself. But as OCD people, like I said, Chrissy, we're also kind, and we're also worried about everybody else, right? That we want to take care of everybody else. We want to save everybody. We want to help everybody else, but we forget about us. And don't neglect yourself, right? So
yes, and you're right. Try not to judge. And one of the things that I've learned late in my recovery, so this may not make sense if you're just not at that point yet, you still have to hate OCD or you have to dislike OCD, is that OCD is a part of my brain. It doesn't define who I am. I do not define it, but it is my brain. And so if I hate the disorder, then I hate Chrissy. And that doesn't serve myself or any of the relationships that I have. So I have to have compassion for it. Do I get frustrated with my brain? Yes, a lot.
Yeah.
But I also try to embrace it and try to not be so judgmental. Yeah, I get really awful thoughts. And if every single day I spent judging myself for those awful thoughts, I wouldn't leave the house. And so it's important, just like Corey said, it's easier sometimes to go sit in the corner and to try to figure it out. But in reality, that's where OCD wins. Whatever you have planned, whoever you want to talk to, do it anyway. And make sure that OCD isn't hindering you from doing those things that you love to do or the people that you want to see. Because in the end, sometimes even just pushing back a little bit on OCD asserts some more control versus it asserting control over you.
Yeah. I have some battery issues with my phone, Chrissy, so if I cut out, I apologize. But we'll keep going. We'll keep going until let's keep going. I got more to say. I got lots to say. And I want everyone. You're going to listen to me, damn it, all of you.
All right.
You know,
What else do you have to say, Corey?
some people treat OCD as like this monster, right, in therapy, and that's fair, right? To separate yourself. I treat it like a scared little kid, right? Rather than I look at it a little bit differently than other people, and there's different ways for therapy. I look at it as a scared little kid, and it's up to me to not listen to it. Like when a little kid yells at you, you know, there's monsters under the bed. There's monsters under the bed. Like a 5-year-old, what's up to you to go in and say, it not reassure or anything, but just to calm it down and just say, you know what, relax, I got this, right? And you're maybe I use maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but to me, that's the way I kind of view it. That instead of a scary monster that I need to be scared of, I look at it like it's a little kid, and I need to just tell it to just, hey, relax, I got this. It's not a big deal. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We're gonna just keep going, and we're gonna accept the thoughts, and we're just gonna, we're just gonna enjoy ourselves in the moment and stay in the moment, right? I mean, it's getting away from staying in the moment, and um, anxiety, OCD is always so future based that something is going to happen in the future, right? Well, it's try and stay right now in this moment, in this minute. And it's like right now I'm just talking to you, right? So I'm going to stay here and not worry about anything in the future or worry about anything
Like
in the
your battery.
past. Yeah, like my battery. But I'm going to give you the warning. If it cucks out, hey, maybe it'll conk out, maybe it won't.
That's easy for you to say, and then I just keep talking.
But
No, I agree. I think I've been through several phases of how I've thought about OCD. You know,
yep.
and I don't even want to talk about pre-diagnosis, but
Oh
when
my
I was
goodness,
in
me neither.
therapy, it was very much battle mode. It was,
Yeah.
you are the enemy. I am going to win. Whatever I need to do, I'm going to win. And that's okay too. But,
Yep.
because a lot of times people refer to OCD as the bully. And I
Yeah.
think that is an effective strategy when you are learning how to manage it and learning and testing what style and what works best for you. Later in
Yep.
my life is when I realize I can't keep hating my brain. Like if I keep
No.
treating my brain like a bully every single day, I will effectively hate myself for the rest of my
Yeah.
life. And that's not okay. But it took me a long time and a lot of grieving to get to the point where I was able to say, I'm actually
Yep.
not a horrible person, and I have a lot of things to offer people. And so I'm going to try to accept my brain for what it is and not judge myself. But not judging is the hardest part of all of this, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, right, exactly. Trying to like be kind to yourself. You actually have OCD because you're probably a really good person. Probably too good, right?
There might be
So
people
why
with
why
OCD
beat
that aren't
ourselves
good.
up? Yeah, well, there's probably a few that I've met even.
Just keeping it non-reassuring.
Right. But so it's like just be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, forgive yourself, love yourself, all those things, and just relax and just enjoy, stay in the moment. Those are the biggest things that I've, like I said, I've learned. Um, and just keep fighting because OCD is very treatable. Like when I was diagnosed, I was actually almost thankful that I had OCD because a lot of some other mental health issues are a lot more difficult to treat. OCD is
Mm-hmm.
very treatable. It really is. You just need to
Behavioral.
find the right. You need to find the right therapist, and you can get so much better. So it's so cool that I feel blessed to have OCD rather than something else, right? Because I feel like there's treatment for it. I can get better, but to get better, it's up to me. I need to take that step and go and get the therapy and get help and go see somebody. But I have a treatable mental health issue, which is awesome. There's people out there, with cancer or some other form of disease that isn't treatable. So I feel blessed to have OCD.
Mm-hmm. So I've been doing a little plug here for my daily podcast that I do, Coffee with Chrissie, and I'm wrapping up the year. And one of what I'm doing is counting down the 10 biggest lessons I've learned in
Yeah.
recovery or about recovery. So I'm not going to tell you what mine are. I might after you get done, like one of
No.
them. But I
Right.
wanted to ask you, like, what is a big lesson that you've learned in recovery from the time that you had the illness, then into the diagnosis to where you are now?
The biggest lesson I've learned in recovery is that
Yeah.
there's help available, that you don't have to suffer with this, that there's help available, that you just have to be willing to reach out and get the help. and that, I suffered for so long, and I got diagnosed within like 45 minutes of seeing a therapist that could finally diagnose.
Uh-oh. Am I losing you? Is this the battery? Is this the battery now? Hello? Are you still there? Okay. Well, I think we lost Corey. So I will continue to talk and then I will wrap up because I don't want to talk for much longer with it just being me. But luckily it wasn't a horrible face for Corey that it froze on. But I loved treatable. And so I will share with you one of the things that I have on my podcast, which is coffeewithchrissie.buzzsprout.com, counting down some of the 10 things that I've learned, important lessons that I've learned in recovery that kind of surprised me. And I actually have them written down. But I will just say this one, and then I'll wrap up with that recovery is not a race, and there is no finish line. And it feels like it is. It feels like there's going to be some sort of end, that there's going to be this. And a lot of times we feel that way because living with mental illness is to a lot of extent suffering at times, sometimes worse than others. But we do want to end suffering, right? And so we think to ourselves, well, then recovery means the suffering ends. And the reality of that is that there is no finish line. And I like to think about this as a very long race where there are no winners and losers. But if our entire life was a race, like a marathon, once per year, tripled or whatever, if we live that long, and each year is a mile, if during that race, in each mile, I took the time to stop and look around, who's running beside me? What are they offering at the tent? What do I need to help nourish myself to keep going? What does the scenery look like? How do I feel right now compared to 10 miles ago? That's what it's like for me in recovery. It isn't just this, oh my gosh, I've got to get to the finish line and I don't care how I feel. Because sometimes if we were to think we're at the finish line, we would look back and judge all of the miles versus just taking 1 mile at a time and being very mindful of what's going on then and there. So when I look at recovery, there is no end goal. There just is growth. And for me, that means getting to see at one point in my life, OCD was a bully and a monster. And now being able to evolve into seeing that OCD now for me has been one of the greatest teachers, but has also helped teach me how to actually love myself instead of before I hated myself. So thank you for being here. I'm so glad that we got to get Corey on until his battery went out. Holidays, I hope that you have a wonderful holiday wherever, if that means you're spending time by yourself or with your family. But again, plan for whatever you live with or whatever might trigger you. Plan for it to be there and put some backups in there and reach out if you need support. That's what people are there for. Reach out to them and don't be afraid to do that. I probably won't do a video until 2019, so I hope that you do have a wonderful Christmas, and I also hope that you have a wonderful New Year. Thank you for being here. If you're in need of peer support or if you're in need for referral consultations for OCD, head on over to chrissiehodges.com or email me at ocd.chrissie@gmail.com. At my website, you'll be able to see more about my services and pricing. Happy holidays.